Recording in progress.
Good afternoon. It's afternoon on the East Coast in the US of A. Welcome to Lighthouse News and Notes. I'm Kona Mahu with Kona Wisdom House, and I have a very special guest today, Donna D'Angelo with the Institute of Christ Consciousness. She's one of my favorite people on the planet. She tells it like it is. She consults with celestials. She leads us in prayer for change on the planet. And that is my heart and everything that I love about ministry. And so I would like to introduce you now to Donna D'Angelo. If you want to reach out to her, she is at the Institute of Christ Consciousness, Donna at institutechristconsciousness.org. And welcome, Donna.
Thank you, Kona. I'm delighted to be here with you and our audience. And today we're kicking off a new webcast series called Exploring Human Divine Connections. And before I go into the presentation, I would like to give everyone who is listening or will be listening some context for this, because what our planet is undergoing right now is something that is unprecedented, and many people are not really aware of why what we are going through is happening. So this is just a little brief overview of the conditions that we're facing and a very, very brief look at what happened in the past to lead us to this situation. So keep in mind that I am a Urantia book devotee. I have been studying this massive revelation for 50 years now, and it was very insightful to me to come into an understanding of our histories, our planet's history, and why we were in the condition that we are. My understanding of this wonderful revelatory text provides the information that there are trillions of inhabited worlds such as ours that have human intelligent life where we can make our free will decisions whether or not to cooperate with the divine plans of evolution. And so each evolutionary world has a divine plan of evolution to shepherd indigenous humans to a higher spiritual, moral, and very advanced civilization where people are living in peace and equality, fairness and justice. People are treated with kindness and respect. And that is a far difference from the way we live on this planet. So not to go too long into our history, approximately 200,000 years ago, our planet participated in a major event called the Lucifer Rebellion. And this was an event that took us off the evolutionary divine timeline and put us on a deviant track. And part of that deviant track was for Lucifer, who was the administrator of 1,000 inhabited worlds, our planet being one of them. He encouraged 37 planets, including our planet, to follow his plan of evolution, which was not at all aligned with the divine plans of life. And so, because of that event in our far ancient distant history, we have been limping along in our social, our moral, our spiritual development for many, many years. And there have been many impediments placed on the human system of consciousness. When I first began to understand this, it was like I was shown that everything we do on this world is backwards regarding how the affairs of the universe are conducted. Presently, we are in a major catch-up phase or a correction phase to outwork the energies and the concepts that were spawned by the rebellion, which very simply are stated as separation from God and self-centeredness, selfishness, where people act in ways that they feel like they have the right to do whatever they want without any repercussions for against other people. We have this mindset that we can do whatever we want, and even if we hurt people, it doesn't matter. Now, I'm not saying everyone has this, but this has been a very ingrained mindset on our planet for many, many millennia. and we are now in a major phase of catch-up. So in keeping with that, what I want to share with you today are some of the ways in which we are participating with a multitude of celestial and divine personalities who are now bringing a correction plan to this world so that we can, as humans, collaborate with our helpers and build a higher social culture and order. This is an unprecedented event in our world, and we are not doing this alone. The changes that are being made are not being made by humans alone. We are receiving tremendous amounts of higher information, and many people are receiving higher information now. This is something that is a worldwide event to help people open to their spiritual potential. And so what I want to share with you today is a little bit of the ways in which the human mind or human system of consciousness all around the planet was interfered with by these rebellion individuals. Some are human and some are what you might call of a different vibrational nature. I can't necessarily call them spiritual because they are not acting in a way that is consistent with the nature of spirit or deity. But what happened was that the rebels who were in charge of this planet knew exactly how human mind is configured. And they put in many, many impediments and different, what you might code or language that would keep us in a state of enslavement, keep us rooted in a mindset of unworthiness and fear that prevents humans from developing their spirituality and consequently their soul growth. So what we are in the process of outworking now is this language coding that has been so deeply ingrained. It's in not only in our minds, but it's also in our bodies, in our DNA, in our memory system through epigenetics. And it's been part of my work to explore this deep level of human consciousness, even down into the unconscious level, to what you might say, excavate all of this erroneous coding and open it up through the grace of our divine spirit mother, who provides a life spark to open up the strands of erroneous coding, and where the coding can be exposed and released, and then the correct coding then comes in. So this is a very intense, deeply rooted correction that's going into so many different memory systems of human consciousness, some in the present moment and some going way, way down into the ancient past, because memory is a very important part of how we evolve. We build upon generation from generation what our ancestors did, what our parents did. And so we are in the process of clearing out all the erroneous coding. So that distortion that occurred basically was intended to keep us separated from our loving universe mother and father, who act as our spirit parents, to provide us the setting, the context in which we evolve through our universe and many, many worlds to grow in our understanding of the nature of reality and life. And then, of course, to keep us focused away from our indwelling spirit, that divine source of life within us that adjusts our thinking so that we are thinking more in terms of how God would want us to think, with love, compassion, understanding, forgiveness, and mercy. And so the rebels who instituted all of this erroneous coding knew how to interfere with the circuits of our consciousness. And so they created all of this, what you might call deviant language, to point us in a direction that would keep us stuck in these dynamics of unworthiness and fear. So what's happening now is that the spiritual helpers of diverse personalities are involved in contacting many, many people with the information to return us to our divine inheritance of being loved and valued as humans. We have a right to know who we are as spirit beings. We have a right to evolve our souls through everyday living of demonstrating the fruits of the spirit to our brothers and sisters. We have a right to feel that divine foundational love that is our birthright. And so there is this massive uh, intervention now taking place from the spiritual and divine levels to bring us back into that language and coding, so that that separation and that idea of, authority, you will listen to what I tell you to do instead of trusting your own inner judgment and your own inner wisdom. So these separation dynamics have interfered with the relationship between men and women, within the family dynamic, especially the nuclear family dynamic. They want to impose, these rebels, a system of authority where they are the objects of worship. They are the ones who are the authority, and you listen to them and you do what they say, rather than making your own decisions, which has been the gift of free will given to us by our Creator. And so it is very important for us to get back to that original divine plan. So I'm just going to give you a few examples of some of the coding that I have seen over the years of doing this intense work of helping individuals unplug from all of these erroneous mindsets, coding within them, even things that you cannot kind of get to in your own conscious level. Keep in mind that we did not create the rebellion. It was foisted upon us, this deviant plan. Therefore, it requires superhuman help, superhuman language that brings in the correct language and structure and coding. And there's a tremendous amount of information within that. I see it as color and sound, light, language. Sometimes I even see it as musical notes. It's like a symphony is being reconstructed in the body. So, Kona, I would ask you to go to the first example so we
Sure, but
can,
before we
yeah.
do, I have a few questions that our audience might be thinking, especially the ones that may or may not be here. You've given us a lot of information, Donna. You've talked about billions of years. You've talked about a rebellion. You've talked about celestial help. So, can we take a few minutes to unpack a little bit of that? You've talked about multiple planets. And so there's a lot of people out there that are going, "Yay, somebody else believes in extraterrestrials." So we're talking about multiple planets. Can you give us a little bit of an idea of what it means to think about multiple planets and worlds from your perspective?
When you look out on the stars and you see the immensity of the heavens, I am sure it has stricken many people to think that, gosh, we can't be the only planet out there in all this wonderful creation. And so, with our scientific discovery, we are coming to the awareness that there are many planets that are tied to solar systems. But the thing that has not been formally disclosed to humanity by the world's governments is that these planets have life, intelligent life, life like human type life that can make decisions and live in the physical body and have a physical material culture. And so in the Arancha book, they really go into detail about how the universe is structured from the spiritual level and the personalities who inhabit very high dimensional levels, and then down to intermediate levels of spiritual personalities and the functions of the planets in those levels, and then down to the physical level where we exist in a material level, but we have connections to the spiritual level. And so there are trillions and trillions of creation of life. And so we are just awakening from our spiritual isolation that has kept us in this idea of this world as being kind of planetary centric to the whole universe, when in reality, we are just one small planet in a vast, beautiful creation, and we are evolving as these other worlds are, and that we have incredible spiritual support to help shepherd the humans of this world into a higher way of life. Does that help?
That is fabulous. I'm sure there's lots of folks out there going, yes, somebody believes that there's other life out there. And some people may be in denial. The interesting thing to think about that is that the celestials not only are aware of us, but they're also aware of other planets and other life forms. And so maybe you could just say a few words about their love for everybody in the universe or multiple universes.
Well, if you consider that love is the greatest power that ever existed, we can spend hours on trying to define what love is, but there is a unifying, harmonizing, and energizing component to love, and it comes from the personhood of a loving creator. And so because this is a love dominated creation, that love is not only an energy, a physical energy that you can feel and experience, it's an emotional energy and it's an attachment. It makes you feel good. It makes you feel safe. It makes you feel purposeful and validated for who you are. And that is what our celestial helpers, angels, and many other spiritual personalities who've been very beautifully revealed and delineated in the Urantia book for their functions to help us grow in our planetary awareness of who we are and our planet's purpose and our purpose for life. Because we have been living in a deviant system, and in the Urantia book, it goes into great detail about the rebellion that happened at an administrative level above the planet and what happened on the planet. It's so edifying to read that story because it helps you have a context of how this world became the way it is now. But the good news is that we are being open to the rest of our universe, and that love energy is just flooding into the planet, and it's breathing light and space into the shadows of what you might call darkness, where we're in spiritual ignorance. And that's what we're seeing. This darkness is releasing, and so we're seeing behind the scenes of what were the impediments placed on us that prevented us from feeling this love in our bodies, in our hearts, and a higher recognition that we are all deserving of love. So I hope that helps and answers a little bit more of that
It
question.
It does. Thank you so much. And it sounds almost like for those maybe coming from a church background or Christian, if you say the devil made me do it, there's some truth to that. There was some sort of a rebellion that had to do with Lucifer. It's much bigger than maybe our biblical references can give us, and you're giving us a little bit more background. I'm sure that's a whole topic for another webcast completely. You've given us just a taste of that. But it sounds like that, what I'm hearing is that what has happened on the planet is not the intention of what humanity was supposed to live through, and that we did have an outside influence that has impacted our growth and our evolution. And that's good news to me, especially with you telling us that now we can clear that out. We can begin being fresh. We have celestial guidance to do that. And I can't wait to hear more. So if you're ready to proceed with your slides and the examples, I'll pull those up for you now.
You can pull that up now, but I do want to make one comment. In December of 2021, I did a podcast talking about the Lucifer rebellion and what we're in the process of right now, adjudication and reconciliation, or correction, I think I called it. I will put it in the description of the video when it's posted on YouTube, but you can find it on the ICC Webcast under videos and podcasts. And it's one of the ones I did a few years ago to help people have a larger context of what happened here, because this event is the single most important thing to understand about what is happening on the planet now. And yes, it would require another podcast, but I did it was about an hour and a half explanation. So if you listen to that, I think you'll see that I go into a lot more detail than what I'm doing here.
Perfect.
So
And at the end of the webcast, for everybody's information, we'll show you a link to Donna's website. You can find all of her podcasts and interviews on Donna's website. So you'll have that link, and also she's very reachable. Her email address will be given as well. So if you're ready, I'll go ahead and pull that up for you.
okay, thank you. So in this first example, this was taken from a planetary transformation meditation that we do at the ICC on the second and fourth Sunday of the month at 12 p.m. Eastern, where we are collaborating with divine personalities. Divine personalities, these are perfect beings who are helping us make this great shift out of the rebellion energy. And so this personality that I'm listing here, Manjaransan, he is a divine being. He is the personification of divine justice. And in this particular meditation, Manjaransan appeared very large, and he held the planet in a field of his divine justice, directing the energies into the circuit containing sin in the body, which began to release. Sin in the body, I'm just kind of going off script here, is a deviant form that was engineered by the rebels. You cannot see it, but what it does is interferes with your decision-making process to do the right thing. This is not any one human's fault. This is something that was engineered into our DNA and into our mind-body memory system. So the energies were directed, the divine justice energies were directed into the various layers of the human mind body memory. And what it does, it created calibrations like a humming noise or humming vibration to outwork the rebellion influence. Then the correct coding of loyalty to Father's will imprinted upon the deep memory circuit as the correction. Then the energies were directed into our very ancient past. And what I'm saying here, pre-rebellion, when the planet was operating according to the divine plans of evolution. According to the Urantia book, human life began about almost 1,000,000 years ago. This is human life that had the ability to think, feel, and make decisions. And so for approximately a 500,000 year, about 700 years, we were following a divine plan of evolution. And so in this particular instance, and I know this is very complex for you if you're listening to the first time, but we have to go back into a place where the mind was working according to the divine plans and timeline. And then what they do is they build a bridge. Then evolutionary mind, this is the bridge of how we evolve, calibrated to loyalty to Father's will, as follow the trajectory imprinted upon the memory circuits. So it was taking that erroneous energy that was pointed in a what you might call a deviant direction that leads to a very dark outcome, and turning it around, recoding it, turning it around, the spin rate changes, and it's pointed in the direction towards spirit. So that was a big one. The next one was
So
this was
Donna,
taken
before you
from
go into
another a session. This one was taken from a personal session that I conducted for someone. A large, dark, angry red field appeared containing a memory circuit of how people are attached to sin. Again, this is not something that we created in our own. Then rejection of sin appeared with acceptance of truth. So larger spiritual energies are coming in to superimpose upon the lower form, to recalibrate it in the what you might call the principle of the tuning fork. You've got a higher vibration, and it's taking this lower vibration and it's bringing it up so that there's coherence, and so that the acceptance of truth could imprint upon this core of an individual and the adjutant mind spirit circuitry. And I talk about that in some of my previous webcasts and some of the videos up on YouTube, because our minds have been put in place by spirit. And there are many spiritual forms and patterns that we need to imprint upon so that we can grow our humanity, to grow our divine nature. So I'm just going to stop there and see if there's any questions.
Thank you for that presentation so far. And I do have a question. In the first example you gave us, you talked about Father's will. There may be some people watching that also say, well, what about Mother's will? They have an understanding of the father-mother complex. So could you give us a little idea of where Mother fits into this?
Sure, sure. Um, Again, these are complex concepts to consider. In terms of the Urantia book, in using the term mother father, the father is the personhood in which we imprint upon those divine characteristics to grow in our higher divine nature. The mother is actually environment in which we live. So it would be also accurate to say the will of the mother, because she is our divine mother, is the one who is the action of spirit in the universe. So in essence, we are learning how to cooperate with both who and what our father is and who and what our mother is, so that we are doing what you might call the divine will, not just the father will, but the divine will of both masculine and feminine energies, of which our spirit parents are the perfect representation of both. So I just took this one, the loyalty to father's will, because that was the way it came in for me. But that still is relating to the divine mother, because she is the one who brings that down into human mind, so that human mind can imprint upon it and start feeling and responding to that new information. And then that information is translated by the person's indwelling spirit so that they can feel and perceive higher information.
Thank you for that longer explanation. I would
Does
think
that
that
help?
that's a great comfort to people who want to know, we've been raised in many people have been raised in a church environment where it's all patriarchy, it's all the father. There's no discussion
You're muted,
of the
Kona.
oh, I'm so sorry. It would help if I turned my sound on. I don't like to blow my nose on screen. So thank you for that longer explanation. I think for people that may have been raised in a church environment with the idea of it's just the Father, there's not a discussion of the Holy Spirit, but they've come to an understanding that there is this relationship between the Father's will and the Mother's will and how they're united together. So thank you for that extended explanation. And now, if you're ready for the next slide, I'll pull that up too.
In just a moment. And again, keep in mind that I am using concepts in the Arancha book that may be unfamiliar to some people who will view this on the YouTube channel. So I would highly encourage you to take a look at the Arancha book. It is all online, and look at some of the papers I'm speaking about to help you have a context. So basically, what is underway on the planet, many, many years of planning have been underway in this human spirit collaboration, because we humans are the ones who are actually making the changes on the planet by changing our thoughts, our feelings, our behavior through this intervention of the divine language that's now gradually being inserted into human consciousness, so we can elevate our minds to higher levels. So now this one was taken from a session with an individual, someone that I've been working with for a number of years. And this has to do with the development of the social culture of our planet to reflect a higher order. Now, the personalities of Adam and Eve, as described in the Urantia book, are vastly different than the description of Adam and Eve in the Bible. In the Urantia book perspective, they are the material representations of deity to an evolutionary world such as ours to help the indigenous population learn how to manage the planet, learn how to manage the natural resources, how to communicate with the animals and the plants, and how to develop a social culture that is what you might call a heavenly or divine social order. So I've had contact with Adam and Eve in the realm of spirit for many years, and they are here to help us correct our social institutions. And one of them is their garden culture. Their Garden of Eden was a place of magnificent beauty. They could communicate with the animals. They knew all of the healing properties of every plant and flower and vegetable and fruit, highly, highly intelligent beings. And they were here to teach indigenous humans what they knew about managing the planet. So in this particular session, Adam and Eve stepped into the configuration, calibrating it to their enormous energies of the garden culture and its management. They were the managers of the culture. They knew how to build this new civilization. So what happened was a new light source tied to sunlight infused into what Adam and Eve were conducting into the erroneous social influences on the planet. Information was perceived that the power directors, and this is a level of what you might call celestial personality, who work to manage the physical circuits of the planet, and they adjust the gravity, they adjust the flow of information from higher levels into the physical realms. And so they were starting to increase the frequency of the circuits to engender more physical healing and the communication of the process of the body to reflect more spiritual energy. And the focus moved to attenuation. And this is part of how things get calibrated to a higher level. Now, I know this is probably a little bit expansive, but we have the right to know who we are and how to manage the energies that we have access to, spiritual energies, consciousness energies, physical energies. And so in this next example, so I held focus for corrections to be conducted, especially how people are influenced by religion to remain in fear states. So what they bring up is they bring up the erroneous attachments in the body, energies of martyrdom and paganism were outworked by a very large infusion of divine love from our spirit parents who spoke, restructure life into the fear constructs. Life is trustworthy. And so this helps people start to lose that attachment to fear, ingrained fear, fear that you can't even identify because it's so deeply reflexive in human mind and memory. They do not want us to be in fear. They want us to feel safe in life. And then the energies of dastardly deception. And this is some of the coding that Lucifer and his minions inworked into the human mind body system. And now this is all being like pulled out, calibrated out, and then they bring in the higher information, life is trustworthy, and then they imprinted soul purpose. So people's souls, which have been kind of hidden behind the heart because the heart is blocked. The heart energies of feeling love and safe get blocked because of the uh, conflicts and the anger and the way we treat one another. And so this is all being unblocked now. And so when a person begins to feel this safety inside, it's like the soul has a chance to relax and breathe and say, okay, now I can grow. Now I feel safe. And this is what they are providing and bringing into these human mind, memory, body dynamics so we can heal. And so this is just a small smattering. I know I went pretty deep into some of this stuff, and it might take a while for this to just to kind of register in your mind. But I wanted to show everyone that we have been imprinted with erroneous information for many millennia. And now this is the time to get the correct coding. You might say we've been, and many people feel this, that we've been living in this, the movie The Matrix. We've been living in the Matrix, this false field of information, and that is true. We have been influenced by this rebellion mindset, which keeps us separated, and it's in our lower ego minds. And that is not the divine way of life. That was never the plan for this planet. This planet was designed to be a place of beauty, splendor, of grace and beauty, where the indigenous people of all races are getting together, learning how to cooperate, harmonize, unify through all this wonderful diversity that we have, and become more loving and filled with our divine nature. So what we're undergoing now is this massive collaboration with divine and spiritual personalities. So I wanted to do this first webcast is kind of like the context, because in the following webcasts, and we'll be talking to a number of people who've been working in this field of who they work with, who are the celestial personalities they work with, because everyone has the ability to work with celestial personalities if you so choose. The door is open and you can have as much contact. And one of the things we do at the ICC is teach you how to quiet your mind and to learn how to communicate with these wonderful beings who are so loving, so compassionate, so understanding of the plight that we have to endure here, that all they want to do is help us move out of this very, very deviant mindset and step into our true human spiritual potential. And we can make this world a place of beauty and justice and peace and glory, and we can all share in the bounties of life. So in the future, we'll be talking about these spiritual divine connections, who some of these personalities are, how you can cooperate and collaborate with them. And of course, we provide personal sessions at the ICC so that you can get this kind of what you might call upgrade. It's like becoming human 2.0. And this is not through artificial intelligence. This is through the natural intelligence that each person has as being a child of God, who has a very expanded potential of your intellect and your spiritual development to grow, to understand the nature of reality, and to understand who you are in particular in that cosmic design of life. So I'm just going to end here and see if there are any questions.
Well,
That was a
thank you,
lot of
Donna.
information to get out. Big stuff.
Thank you, Donna. That was a lot of information, as you said. I think it's great news. The one key thing that you said for me is that you help people obtain those relationships with the divine. You do it in a very different way. It seems you've got a lot of knowledge about the celestials that exist in the universe. You've been doing this for a long time. Some people are like, I can barely sit down and pray and or meditate, much less think about having a relationship with the divine. But your website gives great information on the very small steps for sitting meditation practice, slowing the mind down. You give people meditations and ways to connect so they can start at the very basic level. So for those of you that are interested in learning more, definitely check out Donna's website at the ICC. It's Institute Christ Consciousness, Institute for Christ Consciousness.org, and I'll have that up here in just a moment, and reach out to Donna for more information. I don't have any questions in the chat right now. Is there anyone in our audience that has a question? I'll look to the audience. I don't see any questions there. You've been very thorough. Any final words that you would like to say about this presentation, Donna?
Well, I wouldn't mind hearing from the audience, if you prefer to put it in the chat. Was this information too much? Because it's challenging for me with all of the information that I have been given over this course of years of study of the Urantia book. And I kind of forget sometimes where the average person isn't understanding this. So I'm very curious to get some feedback from the audience. If this was resonating, did this make sense? Was this too much? So I can prepare future webcasts that will be highly edifying for people and help them in their spiritual growth.
Thank you for that question. I don't see anything yet. We'll continue to monitor it. Again, you are available through email to answer further questions and to set up one-on-one appointments, sessions with folks. Donna is a tremendous spiritual healer. I know I've sat with her many times and had wonderful results with our sitting sessions and hearing from Father and Mother, Christ Mother Nebedonia. I'm new to the Urantia book. I've been in church ministry for over 30 years, and so making this code switch from the Bible to the Urantia book and seeing the parallels has been very enlightening for me. It's been a wonderful transition, kind of filling in the gaps. You've done a lot to fill in the gaps today for things that are missing for those of us that come from a scriptural background or a biblical background. So I encourage each of you to check out Donna's website and also to reach out to her and even reach out to me. I'll be happy to answer questions. Let's see, there's one question now. It just says, thank you. I'd like more specific examples of the negative coding. And
Oh, but I don't
I'm
know if
going to
you
guess,
really.
I'm going to guess. So if we have examples of the negative coding, then we know how we're negatively impacted, and then we can go, oh, that's probably negative coding. That's probably not for my best interest. Do you want to say something about that?
You know, when I was first guided to do this deep inner excavation of human consciousness and the erroneous coding, I saw a lot of darkness and it was shocking. It was like everything Lucifer and his minions could do to interfere, like perversion of the human nature, separation from God. And these are not even some of the more nasty ones. Um, I would say that if you have habits that you cannot outwork on your own, and I've had this situation in my own self, there's probably an unconscious influence that is a driving force. And so when I do this deep healing work, I always ask our parents to reveal what is holding that person back so that that erroneous coding can be exposed. It's like our minds are attached to this big planetary mind field where all of this negative information is stored, like being attached to the ego mind, where we operate in selfishness and self-interest, or we do things that we know we shouldn't do, like when you get into addictive types of habits. There's coding there that interferes with you outworking. Now, I don't want to say it's as simple as coming in with spiritual energy to remove it, because it does take time. There has to be a willingness on the human to let go of all this. And sometimes it's so deep that you cannot see it on your own. And that's why, you need that superhuman help. And that's one of the things I've been trained in. Um, Keep in mind that we are living on a planet that is not only being interfered with, in our conscious mind. We have many, many toxins in our planets now. We have polluted air, polluted food, polluted water. So all of these also have an effect because the pollution is operating at a level that is anti-life, and spirit is all pro-life. Pro vitality, pro regeneration, pro renewal. And when we are bombarded by these toxins, whether they're physical toxins or mindal toxins, emotional toxins, our vibrational rate is lower. And what we're trying to do is elevate the human vibrational rate, especially in the mind. So it's like when your mind is operating at a higher level, the spirit within takes that, grabs that, and starts to elevate it, where a person can start to have more insights and the intuition expands. So the erroneous coding is something that if you have a strong stomach to face, You can do it on your own, or you can ask someone who has knowledge of this to help you, which is the work that I do. And what happens is you go through a period of calibration so that you feel like you're eventually just kind of outworking this erroneous coding, and you find your mind starts to clear, the behavior gradually changes, you feel more light and space within, and you feel like, oh, wow, I'm shifting. There's something changing in me. So I don't focus on the erroneous coding. I'm just here to let it be exposed. And so spirit can come in and just pull it out and put in the new code, help it integrate so that the human mind starts to function better. It's like we've been living in this matrix of a consciousness virus. And this is the clearing of the virus. Because when you look at a computer and what virus does in a computer, when you insert a virus into the correct coding, it makes everything go haywire. It's the same principle. It's the same principle. Only we need it at a higher superhuman level because we did not create these codes, and therefore we cannot correct them without superhuman help.
That's
So
quite a bit about the coding. Thank you so much for that. You know, the comparison that we're a little bit like computers. Our DNA is in fact a code, and scientists are beginning to realize that our DNA is in fact affected by energy patterns, and so they're a little bit behind perhaps in science, or they have the science and they're not telling us. Our viewer said, I often feel pulled off track and feel it might be related. So it seems that you answered a little bit of that. If our viewer has any other questions or comments, please go ahead and put them in. But thank you for that explanation. Any other thoughts or words on this?
well, being pulled off track is something that's very normal. We live in a very fast-paced culture. We have not been trained to go within and develop our inner divine connections. And so many of us, and I was like this too before I started to meditate, were very materially focused. What do I have to do now? What do I have to do now? And what I learned in my meditations was just to take some deep breaths and relax and just turn within and start speaking to my spirit. I need help. What do you want to teach me? These are the problems I'm facing. What do I need to outwork this, to outgrow this habit? This is something that you have to do in a attitude of what you might call aligning your human willingness to grow into the divine levels of life. And this is not something that is easily taught or appreciated in our fast-paced material culture. So one of the things we do at the ICC is to train you how to quiet your mind with a very simple meditation. And so to increasingly open that bandwidth so that you're not pulled off track and you learn how to live in the moment more and more through a greater feeling of support and faith, like someone is within you that wants you to become the best version of yourself. So this is something that we help you with at the ICC. We do personal consultations so that you can speak what's been troubling you, and I can share with you some things that may help you. And even if you're interested to do some sessions to help clear the interference so that you feel like you've got a little bit more inner space to get your intuitive nature operating better. So that's we can help you with that too.
Thank you so much for that, Donna. I personally appreciate that further explanation. It always reinforces that I need my daily meditation and stillness practice to remain connected to spirit. So thank you for that. Do we have any other questions or comments from the studio? I'm not seeing anything at the moment. Any final words on your presentation, Donna?
Well, usually after presentations and I speak for a while, I like to do a few minutes of quiet reflection so that what I shared with you has a chance to kind of soak into your mind so that your spirit can take that information and start translating it for you. So if we can just do this for maybe like 5 minutes, just to close your eyes and take a deep breath or so, focus in your heart. Just feel that need to, that willingness, that intention to open to your spiritual sources. Whether or not you can feel them or know them, trust them. There's so much love waiting for you inside of your being. So much love and validation of your right to be who you are. So, Mother, Father, God, we just thank you for reaching within each person listening to this meditation and gently stirring within their hearts, making some more space for your love to grow within them. Validate each child for who he and she is as a beloved son and daughter. Validate each person for the right to become more of who they are as a divine being through the growth of their souls. Help them perceive more of who they are and their potential for their human growth, intellectual, moral, and spiritual development. And we just thank you for feeding your children with that inner spiritual vitality that is so powerful, so healing, so soothing to the mind and body and soul. So let's just sit with this for a few minutes and just receive. So know that when you prepare this inner place of quiet, you can spend as much time you need talking with your spirit helpers, spiritual presences that are already hardwired into you through many spiritual circuits in the mind-body system. And as you spend time communicating with your helpers, ask questions. Be curious, be hungry, be thirsty for truth. Ask questions about the most intimate details of your life. There's nothing to be ashamed about or feel guilty or unworthy. Our parents, your spirit, understands your human nature probably better than you even know yourself. And there's so much latitude and love given to you. You are not judged. You are not punished. You are not made to feel unworthy or in any way, shape, undeserving of love. And so it's up to you to take that step and say, yes, I want my divine inheritance restored to me. This is my birthright, and I claim it. And I hope as you move forward, you will claim this more for yourself each and every day. Because when you do this, what you're saying to your spirit is, now I'm ready to grow. Your spirit will respond, and you will get more help than you can even imagine, and help you make those daily steps forward on the path of becoming the most beautiful version of yourself. Okay, and then just take a moment to come back.
Donna, that was so
Thank,
lovely. Thank you so much.
oh, thank you. My pleasure. And I thank you all for being here. And remember, we'll be doing this again in 2 weeks, and we'll be talking more about these beautiful connections and relationships we can develop. So I hope you'll join me. But if not, you'll be able to get the recording. So thanks for being here. God bless you all.
Thank you, Donna. And just as a reminder, Donna is with the Institute of Christ Consciousness. Her email is donna@institutechristconsciousness.org. And this is a production in cooperation with Kona Wisdom House, LLC, the Lighthouse News and Notes. But it is not possible without your donations. And so we thank each and every donor to Donna's ministry for making this possible. And that we ask that if it is within your heart and your means to also make a donation for Donna's ministry so that she can continue to bring this word of light and life to our planet. Thank you again for being with us, for watching, whether you were in with us in person or you are watching the recording. Know that you are blessed and loved beyond measure. Thank you again for being here.